Um, so you said that one of the issues could be a conversion issue, T4 to T3. You're just not converting enough. How do you know if you're not converting enough? Is it simply just how much, if you have plenty of T4 that you kind of know, like, okay, that's a sign that it's just not converting enough to T3?
Correct. If you have enough T4, we usually like that number in the eights, and I'm talking about the free T4, right? What's available. When we look at hormones, we're looking at free and total. Total is a sum of what's bound, usually proteins, and what's available. And free is what's just available, right? That's what we use. But the total is what we use for guidance. So somebody might have enough T4, let's take that scenario, and they're just not making enough T3, that's a conversion issue. If somebody doesn't have enough T4, let's say, because we like that number in the eights, but I'll take 7, and I don't really care how much T4 you have because it's inactive. At the end of the day, I care how much T3 you have. But let's just say you have enough T3 and you don't have enough T4. We're going to typically see your TSH, your thyroid stimulating hormone, go up because it starts in the pituitary, which is the size and shape of a pea in the brain. And that's what gets the ball going. It makes what's called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, and it goes through the liver, and that creates T4. So sometimes people can have enough T4, but they don't have enough T3. You're not converting. Sometimes people have not enough T4, and your TSH goes up and up and up and up. Very commonly, we see a high TSH, and we see a low T4 and a low T3, because the chances of them converting when they already have low numbers is pretty low. But it happens, but not very often. So that's usually what we see. Conventional medicine tests for TSH. Typically, that's the only marker they test for. On rare occasions, I'll see a T4, and really on rare occasions, I'll see a T3 as well. So if they have an elevated TSH, they're waiting all the way till they're at 4.5. That's lab range. So if you're over that, then they'll give you medication. But I say, why is your brain working so hard? Why are you trying to make so much hormone? I just met with somebody today whose TSH was high, and then their T4 and T3 were perfectly fine. So that person is just working harder. Their brain is working harder to make enough hormone, but they have enough hormone. They don't need medication. They don't need a conversion issue. They just need to quiet that pituitary. They need some nutrients so that that pituitary does not have to work that hard.
So let me try to break that down a little bit because that started to get a little bit over my head. So the pituitary releases the hormone TSH, which then helps to is that what helps to convert T4 to T3? You said creates T4. Okay.
Correct. Is in the liver, and then it creates T4. That's our inactive thyroid hormone.
Okay. And so, what is the dangers of having TSH too high or too low? I guess.
Yeah, that's a great question because so typically we see it go high, and high tells me that that the pituitary is working hard to create something. So usually I'm looking for what's low. So imagine this, Nick, like you go to that science museum, you're on the second floor and you're dropping the ball down the track. It goes through the tunnel, the domino set, it rings the bell, and 5 minutes later it lands in the cup. That's very similar to how complex your thyroid is, right? All these mechanisms have to happen for the ball to get into the cup. So when we see that somebody's up there on the top throwing more balls down, we're usually assuming they're throwing more balls down because something's not getting into the cup. So that
Mm.
scenario I gave you with my client that I worked with today, that wasn't the case for him. His pituitary was just working hard. So we were just focusing on that. But typically in conventional or allopathic medicine, when your TSH is too high, they're going to immediately put you on medication because they're going to try and get that down, which, yes, I would try to get that down for sure. But it's usually because something is low.
So you want to figure out what's low, what's deficient to help, because maybe you can take a supplement for that or change your dietary behavior so that you can get that thing low, and then therefore TSH self-regulates back down.
Exactly. Exactly. And I also look, and are in functional medicine, we look at this, but I order 9 markers of the thyroid. So I'm looking at reverse T3, because if you've got a lot of systemic inflammation, or you have a lot of cortisol production, our stress hormone, we're going to be pulling from our reserves for our T3. So you might have enough T4 and you might be converting, but you're stealing from your storage of T3 because you're under stress or because you're inflamed. And then we also look at T3 uptake, which is where your sex hormones are competing for that thyroid site. So for guys, it's typically testosterone, and for women, it's estrogen. But if women go really high, then there's testosterone usually that are involved in dysregulating that T3 as well. So as I said, there's so many parts to this thyroid that all of them need to be looked at, where in conventional medicine, we really don't. I rarely, ever see a reverse T3 or T3 uptake on any conventional tests.